The Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, a tale as old as time itself. Enjoy this Victory Friday, Browns fans. Hey guys, Oliver here, aka UK Browns NFL, and this is my review of the Cleveland Browns 24-19 win over the rival Pittsburgh Steelers. Wow, what a win, what a game, an instant classic, one of the best snow games that I've ever seen. AFC North football at its finest. I said before the game, if this team was only allowed to win 2 games a year, those 2 wins better be against the Steelers. I hate this team, you hate this team, so this one feels good. It feels really, really good. I've only had about 4 hours sleep as this game finished, close to 5 a.m. UK time. But I feel more awake than I have all season, and that's not because of the 8 cups of coffee that I've had today. A game in which Myles Garrett ended the debate, Kevin Stefanski outcoached Mike Tomlin, and Jameis Winston etched his name into Cleveland Browns folklore. Jameis said it himself, "You're not a Cleveland Brown until you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers." Well, you're a Cleveland Brown now, Jameis. Myles Garrett had 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and was constantly causing havoc in the backfield despite being double-teamed nearly every snap. TJ Watt had 4 tackles, 0 sacks, and was made into birthday pancakes for Wyatt Teller on Jameis Winston's rushing touchdown, all whilst going up against the Browns' 4th-string tackle in Jermaine Ifedi. In a game where TJ Watt ran his mouth about Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year last year during the lead-up, he recorded 1 pressure in 28 pass rush attempts and was only double-teamed 3 times, according to Next Gen Stats. The true Defensive Player of the Year had 8 pressures and 3 sacks and was double-teamed significantly more. Myles ended the debate, not that it was even a debate outside of Pittsburgh anyway, but it is nice to see even guys like Filippone, finally concede some ground on this argument. But I said in the preview how Alex Highsmith plays a big role in TJ Watt's success. No Alex Highsmith in this game, and TJ Watt goes missing. He's a good player, a great player even, but he's not Myles Garrett, and that's okay, TJ, because nobody on the planet is Myles Garrett. Kevin Stefanski went into this game facing reports about his job security if the Browns lost. It was encouraging to see reports from actual credible reporters like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport come out before this game and say that Kevin's job is safe for this year and next year even as well. And it would appear that the owner who extended him in the off season is committed to him for the long term, and I'm sure this win only furthers that sentiment. Kevin is the best coach that the Browns have had since reactivation, and to be honest, it's not even close. 2 11-win seasons, 2 playoff appearances in 4 years, a 26-14 home record, and that includes 11-4 home record against the AFC North. Under Kevin Stefanski, the Browns have, for the first time in my life, been able to consistently beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns have now won 5 of their previous 6 games, home games against the Steelers. I mean, hell, the only 2 wins that I've covered this year have come against exactly those 2 teams. And, funnily enough, they are the 2 teams that I hate more than any other teams in the NFL. And, this season has been incredibly disappointing, but Kevin shouldn't lose his job because of it, in my opinion. And I'm glad that, he won't. I think he again proved his worth as a head coach on Thursday night. He outcoached one of the best head coaches in the NFL and once again responded to adversity. But just a great team win overall over, no better opponent to beat. I could spend all day praising guys like Myles, Jameis, Nick Chubb, Jerry Jeudy, Grant Delpit, the list goes on. Just a great response to a disappointing first 11 weeks of the season, and hopefully a springboard for what can be a much better end to this season. But let's get into the game itself. I haven't been able to enjoy too many of these game recaps, but I actually am excited to talk about this one. So let's get straight into it. The Steelers opened this game with a pretty decent opening drive, but Myles Garrett's first sack of the game came on 3rd down and forced them into a 58-yard field goal attempt. Boswell actually ended up missing this kick. It was his second miss of the year. this was probably the easiest time in the game to kick a field goal, given how the weather ended up going. And what did I say in my preview? We needed a break. He'd been so good this year, Boswell, and compared to obviously Hopkins on our side, and that we could do with a break. And his first kick and he misses it. I'm feeling a bit more confident after that. It was a positive opening start to see him miss that field goal. Questionable even in the weather to go from 58 yards, but obviously Mike Tomlin decided to go for it, and the Steelers ultimately missed it. The Browns were unable to take advantage of good field position and had to punt after going 3 and out on their opening drive. The Steelers then drove down to the Browns' 38-yard line. They brought in Justin Fields for a 4th down attempt, but Grant Delpit stuffed him behind the line of scrimmage to turn the ball over on downs. The Browns offense then responded with another 3 and out. And at this point, you're kind of thinking, it's going to be another one of those days for this offense. Given that they were also going up against a great Steelers defense as well. And that was pretty much the story of the first quarter. The Browns defense played well, held on, but the offense just wasn't able to get anything going. Headed into the second quarter, the Browns defense allowed a big play over the top to Calvin Austin for a 46-yard reception. But to be honest, credit to Delpit, he was beat, but he didn't give up on the play. He was able to make what was a touchdown saving tackle at the Browns' 25-yard line. The Browns defense then held on, forced the Steelers into a 48-yard field goal attempt. Boswell did make it this time to put the Steelers up 3-0. And, as the snow kind of started to gently fall in this game, the Browns offense picked up their first down of the game on their opening play of their next drive with a 16-yard completion to Jerry Jeudy, the start of what ended up being a great day for him. And then after a good drive in which the Browns converted, their first 4th down attempt of this game, Nick Chubb scored a 2-yard touchdown with Hopkins converted the PAT to put the Browns up 7-3. Then Myles Garrett once again came alive with a strip sack on Russell Wilson, which was recovered by Winston Reed at the Pittsburgh 31-yard line. Complete momentum shift. The Steelers were able to hold on and force the Browns into a 34-yard field goal after TJ Watt tripped up Nick Chubb on 3rd down. And I'm not joking when I say that was, I think, literally the only thing TJ Watt did in this entire game. Other than that, I didn't hear his name called once. Myles Garrett then had his 3rd sack of the first half to end the first half of this game. So moving on to the second half, after a positive start for the Browns' opening drive coming out of the half, Jameis Winston was able to evade pressure. He found Cedric Tillman downfield, pretty wide open, and unfortunately he fumbled the ball after getting lit up by Deshaun Elliott, and it was recovered by Pittsburgh at their own 26-yard line after Jameis Winston, of all people, actually made the tackle. On the Steelers' next drive, Jaylen Warren was initially awarded a 1st down by the line judge, but they did then reverse that decision and make it 4th and inches at about midfield. It all happened pretty fast. I literally looked away to grab my coffee after they had initially awarded the 1st down, and then by the time that I had taken a sip and looked back up, Maurice Hurst had pretty much stuffed the Steelers on 4th down and turned the ball over on downs. The Browns defense was unable to respond though, and had another 3 and out. I think was their 3rd in the game at that time. The Steelers then had one of their best drives of the game. It was a 13-play, 7-minute drive where they finally converted a 4th down on. But after a high snap on 2nd down in the red zone, the Steelers ultimately had to settle for a field goal, which I still actually have no idea if Boswell actually made, because you couldn't even see the ball amongst the snow that was coming down. But they said he made it, so obviously the score was now 10-6, and it was crazy because this drive started with green grass and still pretty light snowfall, and by the end of this drive it looked like this. The Browns offense responded with a great drive of their own. Al Michaels was so shocked by Blake Whitehead's bubble catch that he called him Njoku. And then going into the 4th quarter during this drive, the game entered the 4th quarter with another 4th down attempt from the Browns. The Browns were now playing into the wind and the snow for the final quarter, so it felt pretty imperative that they needed to extend their lead given how bad the weather was getting. Nick Chubb was able to convert his second fourth down attempt of the day to keep the drive going, which was then capped off by a legendary Jameis Winston 2-yard scramble, which resulted in him diving into the end zone for a touchdown that I'm sure, most Browns fans will remember for quite some time. The Browns then successfully went for it on 2-point conversion to extend their lead to 12 with an Njoku catch that made up for his pretty bad drop a couple plays earlier. But in what felt like typical Browns fashion, the team essentially collapsed and went from being up 12 with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter to losing by 1 point with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It started with the Steelers bringing in Justin Fields, and the refs pretty much marching the Steelers down the field with a pretty soft roughing the passer call, a neutral zone infraction penalty, which, to be honest, clearly looked like the offensive lineman moved first, and then an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on Delpit, which, to be honest, could probably be justified. Delpit was pretty stupidly just yanking, I think it was Pigeon's mouth guard from his mouth. So Jaylen Warren then punched it in from the 3-yard line for the Steelers, which was actually their first touchdown in over 7 quarters of play. So that made the score 18-13 and cut the lead to 5. The nightmare then continued as Winston was strip sacked by Nick Herbig 2 plays later, which was recovered at the Browns' 27-yard line. The Steelers immediately took advantage with a 23-yard touchdown pass to Calvin Austin on 3rd down, which, to be honest, was a great throw from Russ given the conditions. But Greg Newsome did slightly get cooked on that play. They then went for the 2-point attempt to try and go up 3, go up by a field goal, which was covered by Delpit, who then celebrated the stop by dancing. So I'm sure Twitter would have been, pretty kind to him if the Browns did end up losing this game. The score was obviously now 19-18 with 6 minutes left. It just completely deflated the momentum that the Browns had. And as I mentioned, with the Browns playing directly into what was now a snow blizzard, it felt like any points were going to be pretty hard to come by. This worry then turned into outright despair, with Jameis Winston throwing the game's only interception to Dante Jackson, who returned it for 2 yards to the Steelers' 24-yard line, with 4 minutes left in the game at this point. But the Browns, did still have 3 timeouts, so you were just hoping that maybe the defense could give the offense one more chance. But again, it did feel like it was going to be really hard, given how bad the weather was at this point, to go and score points. But the Browns defense did answer the call. They forced a 3 and out, only took up a minute of play. And then the Steelers punter shanks the punt out of bounds at their own 45-yard line to give the Browns pretty great field position, down 1 with 3.5 minutes left to play, all 3 timeouts. So on their final drive, Winston and the Browns 2025 wide receiver 1, Jerry Jeudy, convert a massive 4th and 4, a massive 3rd and 7 to help get the ball down to the Steelers' 13-yard line. And then after a Steelers penalty, put them inside the 10. With under 2 minutes to play, Nick Chubb takes over the ball carrying duties and punches it in with 2 attempts for his second touchdown of the day to put the Browns up 24-19 with 57 seconds left. Pure joy. But I would be lying if, at the back of my mind, I wasn't slightly worried about how much time was left on the clock. I am a Browns fan after all. The Browns obviously go for 2, and even after the penalty, to push it back even more to try and extend the lead to 7 instead of 6, but they fail, so it does remain a 5-point game. The Steelers ultimately managed to get the ball to the Browns' 35-yard line with 6 seconds left, and to be honest, I am absolutely bricking it. But the Hail Mary attempt is easily slapped down to the ground by a combination of Delpit and Denzel Ward on a play where George Pickens was more concerned about starting a fight with Greg Newsome than trying to win his team the game. Game over, Browns win. Snow Angels and snow fights then follow in what are some pretty awesome post-game scenes in Cleveland Browns Stadium, Huntington Banfield, whatever you want to call it, in the snow. Great scenes to watch after the game. It's hard to evaluate a performance, when half the game was played in a snow blizzard. Some people will claim that it's why the Steelers lost, but I think they forget that both teams have to deal with bad conditions. The Browns didn't get to play this game on a different field to the Steelers. At the end of the day, they were able to come out on top through, grit, determination, as well as just better coaching on the day. I said the Browns would have to protect the ball in this game and win the turnover battle to have a chance against a team that has won multiple close games through doing just that. The Browns had 3 turnovers to the Steelers 1 in this game, and yet they still won. I said the Browns would have to buck the trend of allowing big plays if they wanted to stop what was, a somewhat limited Steelers offense coming into this game. The defense allowed 5 20-plus yard passing plays in this game. The Steelers had more total yards than the Browns, yet the Browns still won. The Steelers held the ball for 10 minutes longer than the Browns did in this game. They completed 7 for 16 of their third downs compared to the Browns only completing 1 for 10 on third down, yet they still lost this game. At the end of the day, the Browns came through when it mattered most in a game that, although looked amazing, was incredibly hard to play good football in. As I said, the Browns won this game through pure grit and determination, a desire to win, and to be honest, better coaching overall on the day. You can point to multiple instances in this game where Kevin made the right call versus Tomlin making the wrong or questionable call. None more so obvious than, the whole kind of accepting the penalty debacle at the end on the Browns' final drive, which turned a 4th down and possible field goal attempt into, in the snow, into a 3rd down, which the Browns ended up ultimately converting. So, the Browns won this game because they were able to come through when it mattered most. 4 for 4 on 4th downs in this game, multiple big plays in big moments, despite only going 1 for 10 on 3rd down and having 3 turnovers. They won this game because Myles Garrett is the best defensive player in football, and the Browns defense was able to come up with multiple big stops, none more important than the 3 and out at the end of the game to give the offense one more chance. The Browns won this game because Kevin Stefanski is an excellent head coach who, despite being 2-8, is able to motivate his team to play inspired on a short week against the franchise's biggest rivals. That's the reason he has an above 500 record in games after a loss. It's the reason why the Browns have won, their last 6 games on a short week. And most importantly of all, the Browns won this game because the best fan base in the world packed the stadium in the freezing cold and cheered for their 2-8 football team through a fucking snow blizzard. The energy from this crowd was palpable through my TV. You'd have thought this team was 8-2 with the passion showed inside the stadium. The crowd really helped motivate this team, through awful weather conditions, and, never faltered as the snow got heavier and heavier throughout this game. That's what it means. It's Browns versus Steelers. It's why, I say this is the best rivalry in the sport. We don't care what the record is during Steelers week. The only thing that matters is beating Pittsburgh. We aren't naive. We know this is still a 3-8 football team with a 0.001% chance of making the playoffs. But just for 1 week, fans can forget about what has been an incredibly disappointing season and enjoy a victory that tastes sweeter than any other. Be excited, post crazy playoff scenarios on social media, have some fun with it. The Browns have what is essentially a mini bye with the next game coming on Monday Night Football against the Broncos on the 2nd of December. That's extra days to soak in this Steelers win before we play the Broncos and then go straight back into another Steelers week again. Beat the Broncos and get to 4-8, then who knows, that Steelers game could be even more interesting than this one. But that will do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you do enjoy my content, then please drop this video a like, hit the subscribe button. It's free and it really helps out my channel. You can also check the links in the description to see where you can connect and interact with me on social media. I'm trying to build a community of Browns fans, and as I always say, even if I only get to talk to one fan a day, I'm happy because I'm talking Browns football with the best fan base in the world. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have an amazing weekend. Enjoy this Victory Friday. Enjoy this victory week, however long you want to make it. As I said, there is no team better to beat than the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns. They beat them this week. So enjoy it as much as you can. And as always, guys, go Browns.